Now, if you're moving to Boise, you might think that Boise is a small town. And if you've grown up here and lived here your entire life, trust me, it is a small town. That said, there are multiple areas of Boise and every one of them is completely different. And there are areas that you would love to live in, and there will be areas that you would absolutely hate to live in. So let's cover a couple of those right now. We're gonna jump straight into the map and go ahead and start taking a look at these right now. So we're gonna break this into 9 areas. And the areas that I've got it segmented into are the North End, Southeast Boise, Boise Bench, Northwest Boise, East Boise, South Boise, Southwest Boise, West Boise, and Boise State University.
Well, that's easy to remember.
So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm gonna go ahead and show you my map now. Okay, here we are. You should be able to see what I'm seeing right now. So like I said, we're gonna start with the North End. And so if you look at my map here, this map's a little fidgety. It's not too bad, but you'll see what I'm saying. So here is the Boise area. We've got all of Boise right here, as you can see. And then moving west, we move into Meridian, out toward Nampa, and then out toward Caldwell out here, okay? So, but we're gonna primarily focus today right now on Boise. So let's start with Boise's North End. Now, one thing that you'll notice, if you look at all of these quarters of Boise, the North End, which is this section right here, isn't really actually completely north. It's kind of actually northeastern. It's actually northeastern, but we call it our North End. That's just what it's been called for a long time. And that is located right here in this little section right here. It's nestled up right along the foothills. And that's really the biggest draw to the North End area is anybody in that area in the North End really loves the foothills, outdoors, walking, parks, and all of that jazz because you're located right downtown, right next to it all, and right next to the foothills. Now we call it, the locals do call it the North End. Like I said, it's not really completely north, but the locals call it the North End. And that really refers to about a half dozen parks that we've got down there, including the most popular park that we have, which is called Camel's Back. As a kid, I went to Camel's Back all the time. We had big, huge, major slides there, and it was just, it's set up on a big hill, and you get to go over the hill, and there's nothing but just open trails and trail systems all over it, and it's just, when you're a kid, it's a really cool place to go. And as an adult, to be honest with you, it's actually cooler as an adult. It's really nice. Now, also worth mentioning about our North End is that you've got access to 63 acres of hiking and biking trails within the foothills that are right there in your backyard. Another thing to mention, a couple things to mention, I guess. One is Hyde Park is an extremely popular park. And then every year they have a Hyde Park Street Fair where they have a huge neighborhood picnic with over 40,000 people in attendance. So very big, very cool event that goes on there. Like I said, Hyde Park's a big deal. Everyone really loves going down to Hyde Park. And then Harrison Boulevard. If you follow my channel, Harrison Boulevard is an area that I've touched base on a few times when I'm covering the North End. If you live off of Harrison Boulevard, or if you're driving down Harrison Boulevard, that is one of, if not the most historic street in Boise, Idaho. It's one of the most beautiful streets and drives in Boise. In the spring and summertime, the street is completely canopied with trees that canopy the entire street. It's a historic district, so every home on that street is in the historic district and is very historical, really maintains the historic facade of the homes. And in fact, they're required to. In the Boise North End, the median home price right now hovers around $750,000. And then the only other thing that I really want to mention about the North End is that if you are a liberal, or if you are someone coming from Seattle and bringing your Prius over because you don't like gas and you don't like straws and things like that, this is the area for you, because this is the only area that I can even speak of in the Boise area, in pretty much all of Idaho, that does vote bluish. I kind of say purplish. So the north end is really our only area where you're going to find large group of liberal or democratic people. If you're concerned with living around people that vote the way you vote, a lot of people come to Idaho to kind of escape that and get away from the liberal ideas, and they want their freedoms, they want their guns, and all of these awesome freedoms that we have here in Idaho. However, in the north end, you will be surrounded with people that are going to be of the mindset more like if you were coming from Seattle or the Bay Area of California and have that more liberal mindset. So I will tell you right off the bat, if that is something you're looking for, that is the only area you're really going to find it. And if that is something that you do not want to be around, that is the area that you absolutely want to avoid, because like I said, that is the most concentrated area that you will find on our map. So that's our north end. So moving on, next stop, we're going to go over here to Southeast Boise. And I actually love Southeast Boise. This is a really cool area. The reason that I love this is actually heading out toward Roby Creek, out toward Idaho City. Roby Creek is something that I've never mentioned on my channel before. Just so you know, there's a very big Roby Creek race. It's a very big deal. In fact, it has a waiting list. It's not a waiting list. Once it opens up to sign up to be in the race, the spots are filled up in like 20 minutes. So it's that popular, but really cool thing to mention up there in Roby Creek. This is heading towards Idaho City, out of town, and towards Lucky Peak. And this is where I do a lot of my boating. I do probably 90% of my boating in Nampa at Lake Lowell because it's 10 minutes from my house. But if for some reason I can't get to Lake Lowell, or if this is one of the years where the blue algae has gotten out of control and they've shut down Lake Lowell, then my next opportunity to boat is going to go over to Lucky Peak, and that is right here. It's a very cool canyon reservoir, but it's in a canyon, and so that makes it extremely scenic. Really, really cool. It's very deep, like 140, 150, 160 feet deep. Whereas in Nampa, when I'm on Lake Lowell, 20, 30, 40 feet deep. It's really a shallow lake in Lake Lowell and Nampa. But so this is heading out toward Lucky Peak and Lucky Peak State Park. So there's a big park there. There's an actual beach. That is the only area in Idaho where you're really going to find a beach. I can tell you that the sand is extremely rocky compared to any other beach you're used to if you're coming from California, anything like that. So it's different sand by far. But that said, this is where Lucky Peak is. This is where you're going to do your boating if you're in Boise. This area is awesome. There's lots of geography, lots of bluffs, cliffs, mountain area, and it's just a really cool area. It covers a big area. It covers a big part of downtown. So you're close to Boise State. You're close to downtown Boise. You're really right in the middle of Boise. You got parks everywhere. You got Lucky Peak there. You're heading out toward the airport. It should be in that quadrant. The green belt runs through southeast Boise. You could pretty much take the greenbelt all the way through this entire section. You'd be surprised at how far that trail goes. One thing I'll say about Southeast Boise is it's built out. It's been built out for a long time. It was built out in the 80s and 90s, and the average build year right now is 1993 in this area. So that gives you an idea of the demographic. There's going to be a lot of craftsman style homes. It's going to be all craftsman style homes pretty much if it's built in that year. Median home price in this area, so big jump from coming from the north end to Southeast Boise, because they are a very big difference in demographics, in location, and everything else. So median price right now in Southeast Boise is hovering around $479. So again, you get a little bit of a price drop by coming over into this area. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and head right over to the Boise Bench, which is this area right here. I love the Boise Bench area. I've covered this quite a bit on my channel. This is actually where you're going to find the Boise Train Depot, which is a very, very scenic area, very well-known area to anybody that's been here, especially just kind of where it sits, and it just looks down directly downtown Boise. If you get your senior pictures done in Boise, they're going to probably be at the Boise train depot. It's just a very popular area. The Boise Bench, what's really cool about this area is, now I'm going to let me zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to tell you from a local's perspective, all of this area right here, where it actually overlooks all of downtown, that's what I really consider the bench. And the reason why is, like I said, it's a bench. This is overlooking all of downtown Boise, and it sits up on a bench. And it's actually a really cool area, really cool geography. And then you kind of get back in here, and this is kind of just really like the rest of Boise. You don't have really like the view of this bench area along this area right here. But Boise bench area is really cool. This area was built out in the 40s and 50s. And so that will tell you that there's a ton of older homes. So this is much older home area. If you're into mid-century modern, this is one of the areas that you're going to find a lot of those homes where people have taken their mid-century home and modernized it. That is a very popular product here, and it actually is one of my favorites because it's really cool. But so you'll find a lot of that in this area. Median home price in this area is only right at around $399 right now. So again, it's a little bit more of an affordable area and just really cool. All right, so we're gonna head from the Boise Bench straight over to Northwest Boise. Very cool area in Boise. There's a couple really cool communities out here that are worth mentioning. One is Avamore, if you'll notice it right here. That is a community that, as you can see, you're really like the last stop heading out of town before you get out into the wilderness. And so really you kind of are in the wilderness. Your home backs up into the wilderness and trail systems and everything. This is your backyard, all of this wilderness out here. So you've got Avamore right here, which is a very, very nice, very cool master plan community, very large community. And then you've also got Hidden Springs out here. Hidden Springs is a very cool, very different community. It's got a really different dynamic and different feel when you go out there and take a look at it. It's very, very popular. People really seem to love it. They have their own store out there, their own post office, their own gas station. So they kind of tried to keep everything in there so that you didn't really need to travel, because you're about 10 minutes outside of Boise, kind of out from everything. So they wanted to try to keep some of the amenities and things that you did need right there. So they tried to put most of them there. So, but anyway, so really cool area. You've got a couple great golf courses in this area, which is going to be Quail Hollow, which is one of my favorites, and then Shadow Valley as well. Quail Hollow, man, you got to be good at placement with that golf course. Woo-hoo-wee. Anyway, but you've got a really big mix of construction in this area. So you're going to have homes from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 90s, all the way to the currents, but a lot of some of the older construction in this area. You're kind of getting towards Eagle, so you're kind of touching Eagle in this area here. So prices start to go up, and prices will start to be driven up. Median home price in this area is going to say $624, but that's really mostly because you got Eagle driving that price up, because the stuff that's over here in Garden City and over here in Hidden Springs, that's usually trading at like four and $5. But once you get closer to Eagle, you're getting closer to about $600,000. Okay, we're gonna jump straight from the Northwest Boise's right over to East Boise. And this is gonna bring us kind of closer back over to the Lucky Peak area and then the foothill area. So we're going right back into the foothills here. We've got Barber Park. We've got a lot of parks in this area. But then I also want to mention the Idaho Botanical Garden. That is actually a really cool little spot, which is right next to the museum. So if you ever want to check out the museum, that's a cool little area. There's a two-headed cow in there, a little two-headed calf in there. I remember that from touring the museum in grade school. For some reason, that was like the main attraction, is the two-headed calf. But anyway, so you got the Idaho Botanical Garden there, and the Rose Garden, a beautiful, beautiful area to walk through. It's open to public, so you can walk through it. And then what else do we have down here? Harris Ranch is a very sought after community and area down here. You're right next to downtown. Warm Springs Avenue is a great area in downtown Boise. Very, very old. You got the old penitentiary out here, which is another place that you can go and tour. And then you've got Table Rock, which is one of the most frequented trails that we have in Boise, because it takes you straight up to the top of this table and you're looking straight down on Boise. There's a nice, beautiful cross, lit up cross that sits up there that lights up every night, that overlooks the valley. Just a really cool, awesome area over in East Boise. As far as real estate's concerned, now, just another thing to mention is that in this area, yes, like I said, you're right next to the foothills, the Boise River, the Greenbelt, just like the other areas that are surrounded by it. Median is a ton of historic in this area, so historic mansions from the 1900s and bungalows. So there's a really big mix of what you're going to find here. Median home price right now is hovering around $718,000. So it does get a little bit more spendy when you get down into this downtown Boise area and you're in these foothills. So we're going to go straight from there over to South Boise. There's not a ton to mention about South Boise. We're kind of getting out of the downtown area, and really all it is out here is it's kind of openness out here, and then all of this is just really subdivisions, shopping, things like that. There's Indian Lakes Golf Course, which is a nice little course right in here in this area that I love golfing at, but really it's just all neighborhoods and community. And then the airport. So once you're heading out toward the airport, you understand that once you're heading out toward the airport, you're gonna have some subdivisions out there, but not a lot of subdivisions, because not everybody wants to live directly underneath the airport. That'll, kind of give you an idea of the area, but not a super ton of stuff to mention there. Median home price in this area, when you're coming out this direction, you do get a break on price. And so you're only paying around $449 is the median in that area right now. And then that's going to bring us directly into Southwest Boise, which is heading over toward Meridian a little bit more. So we're getting towards Meridian, kind of outside of Boise, kind of a little bit more toward Kuna in this area. We've had a pretty big boom of construction in the last few years in this area because this wasn't all built out. So we've had some more newer construction in this area. But there are a few developments that did pop up in the 70s and 80s that are in this area. So there's a little bit more rural property, some properties with acreage, and then you've got a mix of stuff from the 2000s in here as well. And then median home price on this area, since it's bordering right next to the South Boise, it's pretty similar. So you're only paying $457 right now. To move into this area of Boise. So that's what's cool about Boise, is that you can say, hey, I want to move to Boise, and you think, oh my gosh, that's really expensive. It's gonna be $500,000-$600,000, but you could be in Boise and getting into something in the $4s. In fact, I can show you areas where I can get you into Boise in the $3s if you give me a call. Call me, email me, text me, days, nights, weekends. Myself, my team, we've got your back. But anyway, give me a call. There's areas where I can still get you into the $3s right now. But that's Southwest Boise, not a ton to mention there. And then if we are going from there, we're going to go directly over to West Boise, which is right here. This takes you right more smack dab into the middle of Boise. And this is really kind of, when Boise kind of started and when I was growing up, the downtown area that was the epicenter. And then it moved to West Boise because of Boise Town Square. Once they put Boise Town Square in, which is our large mall, it's the biggest mall we have in the area. Once they put Boise Town Square in, that became the epicenter of Boise, and that's where everything gravitated from. And then that changed, and now that epicenter has moved to the Village in Meridian, and we talk a lot about that, but this area is still very big. This is right where my office is located. I'm right next to Boise Town Square right here. So this is all 90s. This was all built out in the 90s. This is where I grew up, born and raised, grew up right here in West Boise. You're close to everything. The great part of West Boise, and I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. Everyone moves to Eagle because it's centrally located. It is a really good location. But West Boise is right in the heart of everything, and in my opinion is actually the place to be if you want to move to Boise. And the reason for that is, like I said, you're right in the middle of it. You are jump off to everything. You can get from there to Eagle, 5 to 10 minutes. You can get from there to Hidden Springs, 5 to 10 minutes. You can get from there to downtown Boise, 5 to 10 minutes. Anywhere you want from right there in West Boise. The cool thing about that also is that, like I said, this was built out mostly in the 80s and 90s, and that's the majority of the product that you're going to find there. It's all pretty built out. There's not a lot of new construction going on in there. And because of that, again, I told you I can get you in Boise into the threes, and you're right in the middle of the Boise, and right there your median home price is only $393 right now. So there you have it. I tried to cover them as quickly as I could because 9 areas, it takes time to cover that, you know, it does. It takes time to cover 9 areas. But I tried to cover it as quickly as I could to give you an idea of the price points in these areas, some of the amenities in these areas, and to be honest, yes, it's all Boise, but it's all completely different. And these are the things that you need to know when you're moving to a new area. You gotta know this stuff. Listen, I've lived here, born and raised, 44 years, been here my entire life. I know all of this area like the back of my hand, just like my agents on my team do. If this is an area you're considering and you've got questions, just call me, email me, text me. Days, nights, weekends, myself, my team, we've got your back when it comes to moving to Boise and the Treasure Valley. We'll see you next time.